And let's make that the special focus. Away from the political din, the real issue remains job creation in a state like Bihar. Remember, 9% of India's population lives in Bihar. Job creation, is it Bihar's biggest challenge? Is it a mission impossible? How can a state like Bihar get more private investment? Will Bihar come out of the Bimaru trap, the so-called Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, UP trap, as was called a few years ago, or several years ago, that these were the states that were least developed in the country? Let's go straight then to our talking point. So is job creation mission impossible for Bihar? Joining me now, two very special guests. N.K. Singh, Chairman 15th Finance Commission, someone who's been a distinguished civil servant, IAS officer from Bihar, comes from one of the most well-known families of that state. Also being joined by Dr. Prachi Mishra. She's professor at Ashoka University, economist and head of the Isaac Center for Public Policy there. Appreciate both of you joining us. I want to come to you, Mr. N.K. Singh, first, because you've written a recent column where you've suggested that Bihar is actually one of the turnaround stories of the country in terms of the fact that there is economic growth that's visible over the last 2 decades. But the truth of the matter, Mr. N.K. Singh, is when I look at the big numbers, whether it's unemployment, which remains in double digit, when I look at per capita income, which is a third of the national per capita income, when I look at manufacturing, which is well below national figures, Bihar is still trapped, many believe, in a Bimaru trap. Do you agree or not?
I do not agree at all. I do not agree for 4 reasons, Rajdeep, if I may say so. And I'll say it very, very quickly. First and foremost, if you look at long-term trends, you will find that between the period up to 2005, between that period, the growth of population was high, the growth of nominal GDP was low, and per capita income was roughly growing at close to roughly 1% per annum. In sharp contrast to that, if we look at contemporary figures, excepting for regrettably 2017, when there was a dip in the per capita income. If you, for instance, take the most recent example of 25-26, nominal GDP is expected to grow at 22%. This is significantly higher than the expectation of nominal GDP. I recognize this is all from a very low base, but if you look at the growth trends of Bihar in the last 10 years, you will find that the growth of nominal GDP is significantly higher than the national average. Second, to support all this, demography, which was close to around 3%, has significantly come down to 1.4%, some say, but certainly below 2%, which means per capita income is rising significantly higher than at any other point in time. You compound this with the fact that capital expenditure has increased very significantly. There's a huge burst of activity in terms of roads, airports, rail connectivity. Couple it with the fact that a very large percentage of Biharis who are working outside, nearly every second household is receiving 35,000 rupees by way of remittances. Last year alone, the number of Biharis who sought jobs and secured jobs outside India are quite high. I made some suggestions on how...
I'll come to those. I'll come to those in a moment. What you're saying is the glass is half full and not half empty. I will in a moment challenge some of what you've said, but I want to come to Dr. Mishra. Dr. Mishra, do you agree that Bihar is showing signs of growth? We've got Tejasvi Yadav today saying, for example, that jobs remain his big focus. He's going to provide 1 job per household. Now, that's 2.7 crore jobs. Whether that's achieved or not is a huge question. It will require, according to some estimates, 7 lakh crore addition in budget, which clearly Bihar doesn't have. But is there a sense that Bihar is actually able to come out of this unemployment poverty trap, or is it mired in a way in the Bimaru state that it is?
Thank you, Rajdeep. Pleasure to be here and pleasure to be in discussion with Mr. N.K. Singh. I think recent growth rates, as Mr. N.K. Singh has pointed out in his article today, have been impressive. So it's been 8 to 9%, and it has doubled over the last decade. I think what I would like to add is that, are these growth rates enough? I think despite these high growth rates, the divergence across states, divergence of Bihar with other states of India has actually increased over time because a number of states are growing even faster than Bihar. Therefore, I think despite high growth rates, these are not high enough to catch up in convergence. At least my calculations suggest that it would need 15 years for Bihar to catch up to Orissa, and much longer to catch up to even half of the all India average, assuming current growth rates. However, all this implies and is very consistent with the forward-looking perspective which Mr. N.K. Singh has offered, is really Bihar needs double-digit real growth rates. And perhaps 9% growth rates are not enough to achieve, at least to get to half of India's per capita income when India becomes Viksit Bharat. So let me stop here, but happy to take one.
The fact though is, and based on what you're saying, let me, as I said, challenge N.K. Singh on the belief that you've got a situation, N.K. Singh, where 7.2% of the state's population, 75 lakh migrants according to one figure, work outside Bihar. The Bihar Caste Survey report for 22-23, according to which 2.65 crore people live outside Bihar as migrants. Now, these are people who clearly are not finding employable opportunities within Bihar. Yes, in agriculture in particular, there have been impressive growth rates. In service sector, it's grown. But when I look at manufacturing, it is very, very depressing. Now, therefore, you're saying that Bihar is turning around. Many will say that there is also the glass half empty, which you're not recognizing at all.
No, I do not share this. I agree with Prachi that these impressive growth rates, which we have recently achieved, need to be accelerated further. If by the time India becomes a Viksit Bharat, if Bihar continues with the same nominal GDP growth of, let us say, 11 to 12% per annum consistently, which requires a slew of policies, none of which are really impossible to reach, we would have significantly narrowed the gap. By 2047, according to the growth projections that I have, Bihar's per capita income would be 2/3 of current Karnataka's income, which is the highest in the number of states. Yes, I agree that this requires several 5 steps, which I have mentioned in my article. I'll very quickly, in 2 sentences, mention these. 1, continue with the present initiative in terms of the capital outlays being significantly enhanced. 2, secure the migrant incomes which are coming through institutional mechanism where they do not only go into consumption, but continue to go a reasonable percentage into capital expenditure. 3, provide mechanisms by which private capital can be attracted, which have been somewhat shy so far in Bihar, attracting private capital. 4, capitalize on the improved connectivity of Bihar in being able to harness something which Bihar has a latent capability, namely the tourism and the services sector. By the way, Rajdeep, the story on the manufacturing sector being next to negligible is not borne out by facts. The current percentage of the manufacturing sector, no matter how low the nominal GDP is, currently is close to 20% of Bihar is from the manufacturing sector. The contribution of the agricultural sector has come down, and just like the rest of India, the contribution of the services sector has gone up very, very significantly. The most important really thing, one of the things which I have mentioned in my article, is being able to harness private capital in a significant way, bring about a qualitative change in the education health sector, for which there is a huge potential which exists.
Therefore, Prachi, when you look at this election that's coming out, because the debate is once again, at least as far as the opposition is concerned, focusing on Palayan Roko Naukri Do. And if you travel across Bihar, jobs is a major issue. This is a government also on its side. The Nitish Kumar government, just ahead of the elections, suddenly announced 10,000 rupees for more than 1.2 crore women for making them entrepreneurs or self-entrepreneurs. The question arises that does Bihar need massive state support? Government jobs, government handouts, welfare schemes. There is a private investment cycle that has really not picked up. And that is a problem not just Bihar, but several states in that part of the country face, including West Bengal, including parts of eastern UP, for example. There is that trap that several parts of the country find themselves in. Do you see Bihar emerging out of that trap where it's completely dependent on a Mai Baap Sarkar?
So Rajdeep, let me just take this opportunity to present a teaser for a report on Bihar, exclusively focused on Bihar, which ISAC Center for Public Policy is working on. And related to the whole jobs issue, what we make a case for is strategic industrial policy. And here, I think, let me highlight one thing, which is agro-industrialization, which is a first candidate for strategic industrial policy in Bihar. And what we make a case for is that there's immense scope and potential for agro-industrialization. And let me give you some concrete examples. If you take the case of maize, maize has been a big success story in Bihar. What we argue is that this can be further capitalized on through exploiting two things. One is the geographical and the input-output linkages. So let me just give you some granular examples. I think maize is very concentrated in certain districts in Bihar, Araria, Supol. These are districts in northeast Bihar. But most maize leaves Bihar as raw grain without any value addition. So developing maize-based industrial structure clusters in some of these districts like Araria and surrounding districts could create multiply effects for both manufacturing and services. So agriculture now is not, agriculture. If you actually exploit the potential of agriculture, it can have spillover effects for both manufacturing and services. I'm sure you know about, makhana and lychee. These are also examples of sectors which would have spillovers for manufacturing in terms of production as well as exports and for services. So I think Bihar has, important choices to make on the development path going forward, and also learn from other states. Even if you look at agriculture, different states in India follow different paths. Madhya Pradesh is totally crop-based. Tamil Nadu is more livestock. Odisha is more balanced. Bihar could have a more balanced growth path spread across, even within agriculture, spread across crops, traditional like pulses, but also high value like lychee and makhana, in addition to that livestock and fisheries. And remember that, Bihar has comparative advantage from structural endowments like water. And so livestock and dairy really remain dramatically underutilized relative to the available resources and market potential. And, tourism is another sector for strategic industrial policy. I think Mr. Singh already spoke about tourism and has written about it. I think, tourism's economic contribution to Bihar GDP, but most important to employment, is very, very low, and that can increase, significantly, I think, by doing a couple of things. Number one, breaking the extreme geographic concentration. Right now it's very concentrated in 2 or 3 districts. Second, again, Mr. Singh spoke about it, diaspora-driven rural heritage, heritage tourism is another area. I think Bihar's large global diaspora and returning immigrants represent an untapped resource, especially for agriculture. And then there's the, big Buddhist heritage that could be, exploited. So I think there are important choices to be made at this point, given that a new government is going to be in place in terms of development choices for the Bihar economy going forward.
I just want to ask both of you this. I don't want to ask you who you think is better placed to take Bihar forward, because I guess you don't want to put your you don't want to politically commit on that issue, whether it's the Mahagathbandhan or the NDA. But what I do want to ask, and this is a question that has often troubled me, is the sharp income inequalities. As you travel across Bihar, one thing that always strikes out is just the scale of inequalities, particularly in parts of central Bihar, where per capita incomes remain very low and much below the national average. Do you see that changing? N.K. Singh, a quick response and then Prachi will end it.
Well, I certainly see one of the biggest equalizers of this income disparity. By the way, Rajdeep, this is not only true of Bihar. This would be true for other states. This would be true of India as a whole. But to specifically answer your question, not a panacea, but the only figure is continuing with the nominal GDP growth rate of around 15 to 16% over a long period, where growth is really propelled forward, will have inevitable spillover effects, apart from encouragement of private capital, big investment in education, in health, which requires some changes and recalibration, and of course, the ability to attract gainful private investment in partnership. Tourism, by the way, I don't know, Rajdeep, if you have ever visited. I'm sure you have. You have visited Angkor Wat or not. I was taken aback. One city of Angkor Wat attracts a tourism based on the Ramayana theme, attracts tourism which is mind-boggling, Bihar's legacy and history. And given the fact that with the central government outlay having gone up significantly in terms of improved connectivity of air, railways, and roads, offers that if it is blended with, particularly, I say this, with the hospitality sector being supported by availability of land at affordable prices and the availability of the other regulatory framework in a manner where this opportunity can be harnessed and capitalized to Bihar's advantage.
Prachi, a final word. How important is political stability to all of this? Bihar has gone in the past through turbulent times. Is political stability the key? When investors are making choices, they will certainly look at states that offer freedom from fear, particularly law and order, as well as a politically stable environment. Am I correct?
Rajiv, let me quickly say that, I agree with you, what you started with in terms of, how concentrated growth in Bihar is. So if you, if you look at, if you look at Patna, it has a per capita income of, of the orders of magnitudes of 1.5 lakh. Begusarai is around $50,000, 60,000 rupees. But if you exclude these two, the magnitudes are extremely low. Whether this can change and, how important is political stability. I think it's, of course, political stability is very important for economic policy. I think there's enough evidence for that. But I think, again, as I said, it has to be combined with a drive for, double-digit real GDP growth. And that can be achieved through strategic industrial policy with focus on agro-industrialization, tourism, and perhaps also GCCs, which can, help us achieve both the twin goals of GDP and also of employment. Let me stop here.
Okay, let me leave it there. It's interesting to listen to two voices away from all the political noise, which is why we thought we'd bring both of you here. We hear a lot of noise, partisan noises on both sides of the political divide. Whether job creation is mission impossible in Bihar, time will tell. But we look forward to getting Bihar back on track, because a state with a 9% population of the country certainly needs to move ahead if at all India is to move ahead. You just have to look at how well Biharis do when they're outside Bihar, extremely hardworking and enterprising, to know that it is there in the soil of the land to work hard and move ahead. N.K. Singh, Prachi Mishra, appreciate you joining me here on the News Today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajdeep. Pleasure.